As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the verdant expanse of the Caribbean forest, an unsettling calm enveloped the air. The trees, tall and ancient, stood like silent sentinels, their gnarled branches twisting into intricate patterns against the fading light. The vibrant greens of the leaves shimmered, taking on an otherworldly glow, while the earthy scent of damp soil and decaying foliage filled my lungs. This was no ordinary forest. It was a realm steeped in whispers of the past and the chilling stories of those who had ventured too deep. The twilight brought with it a symphony of sounds. Distant calls of exotic birds echoed, mingling with the rustle of unseen creatures stirring in the underbrush. But there was something else lurking beneath the surface of this serene beauty, an invisible tension that sent shivers down my spine. It was the legends of the Jumbies, the spirits believed to haunt these woods, waiting patiently for the unwary. Local folklore spoke of these ethereal beings, said to be the restless souls of those who had wandered into the forest and never returned. Jumbies were not mere figments of imagination. They were very real to the people of the Caribbean, a constant reminder of the thin veil separating the living from the dead. As children, we were warned to stay close to home after dark, to never stray off the beaten path, lest we fall prey to these supernatural entities. According to the tales, a Jumbie could appear in many forms, but they often manifested as beautiful, enchanting figures, drawing in those who were curious or lost. The allure of their dance would be irresistible, and once someone succumbed to their charm, it was said they would be taken forever, lost to the depths of the forest. It was a warning to respect the woods and the spirits that dwelled within, for they were not to be trifled with. As I stood at the edge of the forest, the growing darkness seemed to pulse with life. The light of the moon began to pierce through the canopy, casting ghostly shadows that danced across the ground. I felt a mixture of fear and fascination, drawn to the mysteries hidden among the towering trees. What secrets lay buried within the foliage? What souls had become Jumbies, forever tied to this enchanted land? But there was something more. An inexplicable urge within me to uncover the truth behind these legends. Perhaps it was the thrill of adventure, or maybe it was a deeper calling. I couldn't help but remember the stories my grandmother used to tell, her voice low and grave as she warned of the Jumbies who roamed the woods. "If you ever make a pact with one, child," she would say, her eyes widening in warning, "there is no turning back." As I took a step closer to the forest's entrance, a chill ran down my spine. The leaves rustled as if whispering secrets, urging me to listen. I paused, contemplating whether to step forward or retreat to the safety of the light. But the pull was undeniable. I wanted to know the truth, to understand what lay beyond the veil of fear and folklore. Before I took another step, I turned back to my camera, addressing the audience that had come along for this journey. If you're intrigued by tales of the unknown and the chilling whispers of the Jumbies, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Join me as we delve deeper into this haunting legend and explore what it truly means to be a Jumbie in these dark, enchanted woods. With my heart racing, I pressed record once more and stepped into the shadows of the forest, ready to unravel the mystery that awaited. As the world around me darkened, I could feel the presence of the spirits watching, waiting for their stories to be told. I was no longer just an observer, I was a part of their haunting legacy. The night was just beginning, and the Jumbies were stirring. Isla had always felt like an outsider in her own life. Growing up in a small Caribbean village where traditions ruled and curiosity was often seen as a threat, she found herself yearning for something more. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about the forest, a dark, alluring place filled with secrets and whispers of the supernatural. While others listened to the stories and let them fade into the background, Isla felt her heart quicken with every word. The tales of Jumbies, mischievous spirits that roamed the woods, enchanting those who dared to venture too close, fascinated her. It was a world she wanted to explore, to understand, and maybe even to conquer. From a young age, Isla had been different. While her friends played games and chatted about boys, she sat under the sprawling banyan tree, her head buried in books about mythology and the occult. Her dreams were filled with visions of brave adventurers, powerful sorceresses, and ancient spirits. But as she grew older, the harsh reality of life in her village closed in around her. Expectations weighed heavily on her shoulders. Her parents wanted her to marry, to settle down, to become just another face in the crowd. But Isla's soul screamed for freedom. She wanted to carve her own path, to make her mark in a world that felt far too small. Isla's rebellious spirit often landed her in trouble. She would sneak into the woods, feeling the thrill of the unknown rush through her veins. Each step deeper into the forest brought a sense of freedom and exhilaration, yet it was always accompanied by an undercurrent of fear. The stories of Jumbies haunted her, of how they lured unsuspecting souls into the depths of the woods, never to be seen again. Yet, despite the warnings, she felt an undeniable connection to those spirits. Perhaps they too were searching for something lost, something beyond their grasp. On one particular evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the world was painted in shades of twilight, Isla decided to confront her destiny. She had heard whispers of an ancient spirit that could grant wishes, an entity known for making deals with those desperate enough to seek its power. The stories claimed that the spirit resided deep within the forest, shrouded in darkness and mystery. Isla felt an irresistible pull toward it, an urge to discover whether the legends were true. As she ventured into the forest that night, the trees closed in around her, creating a labyrinth of shadows and light. The air was thick with anticipation, charged with a strange energy that sent shivers down her spine. Isla's heart raced with both fear and excitement. What if she could gain the power to escape her mundane existence? What if she could become more than just a girl from the village? After hours of wandering, Isla found herself in a small clearing, illuminated by the silver light of the moon. In the center stood an ancient tree, its gnarled roots twisting like serpents around a stone altar. A voice echoed through the stillness, deep and resonant, calling her closer. "Isla," it whispered, her name swirling in the air like smoke. "I have been waiting for you." Her breath caught in her throat as she stepped forward, entranced by the voice. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the opportunity to break free from the chains of her life. "What do you seek, child?" the spirit asked, its presence both intimidating and alluring. "I want to be free," Isla declared, her voice steady despite the tremor of her heart. "I want to escape this life, to find my true power." The spirit paused, as if weighing her desire. "A pact, then," it said slowly. "But know this, with great power comes a price. Are you willing to pay it?" Isla hesitated for a heartbeat, the weight of the moment settling over her. She had always dreamt of breaking free, of embracing the unknown. "Yes," she replied, her voice unwavering. "I am ready." With those words, she stepped into a world of shadows and uncertainty, unaware of the consequences that would follow. In that instant, Isla made a choice that would change her life forever, binding her to the forest and the Jumbies in ways she could never have imagined. The thrill of power coursed through her veins, but as the darkness closed in, she would soon discover that not all wishes come without a price. The air crackled with an electric tension as Isla stood before the ancient tree, the moon casting a silvery sheen on the clearing. Shadows twisted and writhed, creating phantoms that danced just out of sight. She felt an overwhelming sense of purpose as the spirit's voice reverberated through her, a melodic yet foreboding presence that resonated deep within her bones. "Ayla," it echoed again, and the sound sent shivers down her spine. The branches of the tree seemed to lean closer, as if eager to witness the pact that was about to unfold. The clearing pulsed with life, and for a moment, Isla could almost see the spirits swirling around her, their translucent forms flickering like candle flames. This was no ordinary place. It was a liminal space between the worlds where desires and fears intermingled. "Are you truly prepared for what this pact entails?" The spirit continued, its tone shifting to a darker timbre. "Power is alluring, but it comes at a cost." Isla hesitated, but the yearning in her heart drowned out the warning bells ringing in her mind. The dreams of freedom, of escaping her mundane life, surged within her like a tidal wave. "I understand," she replied, her voice firm despite the flutter of uncertainty. "I'm ready to embrace whatever it takes." "Then speak your wish," the spirit instructed, its presence both captivating and intimidating. "Let your desires be known, and I shall grant them. But beware. Every wish has a shadow, and you must be prepared to confront the darkness that follows." Isla took a deep breath, the weight of her words hanging in the air like thick fog. "I wish to be free from the constraints of my life," she declared, each word reverberating in the clearing. "I want the strength to carve my own path, to harness the power of the forest and its spirits." As she spoke, the ground beneath her feet trembled slightly, and a gust of wind rushed through the clearing, rustling the leaves and sending shivers through the air. The spirits whispered around her, a chorus of voices that mingled with the rustling of the trees, creating a haunting symphony. She could feel their eyes upon her, a mixture of curiosity and caution. With her wish uttered, the spirit manifested before her, a swirling figure cloaked in shadow and adorned with shimmering leaves. Its eyes glowed like embers, piercing through the darkness and locking onto hers. "Very well, Isla," it said, its voice both melodic and chilling. "You shall have what you seek, but remember, power demands sacrifice." As the words lingered in the air, a sudden chill swept through the clearing. The temperature dropped sharply, and Isla felt an invisible force wrap around her like a shroud. She could hear the distant howls of the wind, echoing like mournful spirits crying out for release. The atmosphere thickened, charged with an energy that sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. In that moment, the spirit extended a hand, an invitation wrapped in shadows. "Take my hand and seal the pact. Embrace the darkness, and your wishes shall come to fruition." Despite the rising dread in her heart, Isla felt an irresistible pull toward the spirit. This was her moment, the chance to escape the life that had bound her for so long. She reached out, trembling but resolute, and grasped the spirit's hand. The connection was instantaneous and overwhelming. A surge of power coursed through her, electrifying every nerve in her body. It felt as if the very essence of the forest had merged with her soul, granting her strength beyond imagination. She could sense the whispers of the jumbies surrounding her, their energy weaving through her being, filling her with an intoxicating blend of fear and exhilaration. But as the euphoria swelled, so did a haunting realization. Shadows flickered at the edges of her vision, dark tendrils creeping closer. Isla suddenly felt the weight of the pact settle heavily upon her, a burden of unseen consequences waiting in the wings. "Now, Isla," the spirit said, its voice resonating with an unsettling finality. "You are bound to the forest, and the jumbies shall rise to your call. But remember, the shadows shall always follow." With those words echoing in her mind, the spirit faded into the darkness, leaving her trembling in the clearing. The energy still pulsed around her, but now it felt different, more sinister, more alive. The once welcoming woods now loomed like ancient sentinels, guarding secrets she was only beginning to understand. Isla stood there, heart pounding, fully aware that her life had irrevocably changed. She had gained power, but at what cost? The promise of freedom was tantalizing, yet the shadows danced around her, whispering of the darkness that awaited. As the moon hung high above, illuminating her path, she knew the true journey had just begun. A journey into the depths of her own desires, where light and darkness entwined in an eternal dance. The night air buzzed with an unsettling energy as Isla stood alone in the clearing, the remnants of her pact still echoing in her mind. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting eerie shadows that danced like spirits awakening from their slumber. But something deep within her had shifted. She could feel the forest stirring, responding to her presence in ways she never imagined possible. As she took a tentative step forward, a sensation washed over her, a rush of power surging through her veins like wildfire. Her senses heightened, amplifying every sound, every whisper of the leaves, and every rustle of the underbrush. The world around her came alive with vivid colors and strange melodies. and for a moment she felt invincible. The forest was no longer just a place of shadows. It was her playground, her domain. Yet amid the exhilaration, a flicker of fear ignited in her chest. She had entered into a pact with darkness, and the price of her power was becoming increasingly clear. Memories of the spirit's warning echoed in her mind. With great power comes a price. What did that truly mean? As she began to explore her surroundings, she felt a strange transformation stirring within her, one that was both intoxicating and terrifying. Her heart raced as she caught a glimpse of her reflection in a small, still pond nearby. The water shimmered like liquid silver, and as she leaned closer, she gasped. Her features were changing. Her skin glowed with an otherworldly luminescence, and her eyes sparkled like stars in a night sky. But there was something darker lurking behind her gaze. An insatiable hunger flickered there, a desire for more power, more control. She was becoming a Jumbi, a creature of the night, bound to the forest and its secrets. As the realization settled in, Isla felt a mix of elation and horror. She was no longer the girl from the village, confined by the expectations of her family and the mundane routines of life. She was something more, something powerful. Yet the thrill was tainted by the knowledge that she was losing a part of herself in the process. The darkness that enveloped her was seductive, whispering promises of strength and liberation, but it also felt like a chain binding her to an existence filled with uncertainty. The forest responded to her transformation, the wind howling through the trees, carrying with it the faint echoes of the Jumbis, the spirits she had once admired from afar. They began to materialize around her, their ethereal forms swirling in the moonlight. They welcomed her with open arms, but as they danced around her, their joy felt hollow, tinged with an underlying sadness. She could sense their longing for freedom and the weight of their own dark pacts. They were trapped in this endless cycle, and now she was part of it. With each passing moment, Isla felt the boundaries of her humanity blur. The urge to connect with the forest, to lose herself in its depths, grew stronger. But deep down, a flicker of her former self resisted. Memories of her family, her friends, and the life she had once known flashed before her eyes. Would she be able to return to them? Or had she burned that bridge forever in her pursuit of power? Suddenly, an overwhelming wave of emotion surged through her, a mixture of grief and exhilaration. She closed her eyes and surrendered to the transformation, allowing herself to embrace the Jumbi within. Her senses exploded. She could hear the heartbeat of the forest, feel the pulse of life coursing through the trees, and understand the unspoken language of the spirits. In that moment of surrender, she understood her new identity. She was a guardian of the forest, a bridge between worlds, a being of both light and shadow. The darkness she once feared now thrummed in harmony with her spirit, inviting her to explore the depths of her power. As she opened her eyes, they glowed with an ethereal light, reflecting the duality of her existence. The forest welcomed her, its whispers wrapping around her like a warm embrace. But amid the newfound freedom lay a daunting truth. She was now entwined with the very darkness she had sought to control. The Jumbi had awakened within her, and the consequences of her pact would shape her destiny in ways she could not yet comprehend. Isla took a deep breath, feeling the forest breathe with her, and stepped forward, ready to embrace her new reality. The path ahead was shrouded in mystery, and as she ventured deeper into the woods, she knew that her transformation was only the beginning. With each step, she would uncover the secrets of the Jumbis, unravel the mysteries of her new identity, and confront the shadows that lurked not only within the forest, but within her own heart. The night was young, and Isla was ready to discover what it truly meant to be a Jumbi. Isla's transformation into a Jumbi began to weave a tapestry of shadows throughout the forest, each thread darker than the last. As the days passed, she felt the weight of her new identity pressing upon her like a shroud. The once vibrant colors of the woods morphed into deep shades of green and gray, echoing the tumultuous emotions stirring within her. She was no longer a mere observer of the forest. She had become a part of its haunting symphony, a melody intertwined with the souls she was meant to claim. With every twilight that fell upon the land, Isla ventured deeper into her Jumbie existence. The whispers of the forest grew louder, and she found herself drawn to the lost souls that lingered on the edges of the woods, those who had wandered too far and forgotten their way home. Her presence became both a blessing and a curse. She had the power to guide them to the afterlife, yet each soul she took added to the burden of her own darkness. The thrill of capturing their essence sent chills through her, an intoxicating blend of fear and satisfaction. But with each soul that slipped through her fingers, the line between right and wrong blurred further. The forest was no longer just a sanctuary. It had become a hunting ground, and Isla was the predator cloaked in shadows. She relished the power coursing through her, but it came with an insidious price. Every soul she collected echoed in her mind like a haunting refrain, their whispers blending with the cries of the lost, begging for release. The laughter of the Jumbies became tainted, a bittersweet reminder of the lives she now carried within her. Yet unbeknownst to Isla, someone close to her was beginning to sense the shift. Her childhood friend, Kai, had always been attuned to the subtle changes in the world around him. He felt the forest's energy shift, a dark cloud looming over the village that had once been filled with light and laughter. He had known Isla since they were children, sharing dreams and secrets beneath the banyan tree. The bond they shared was unbreakable, or so he thought. But as rumors of a mysterious figure haunting the woods spread among the villagers, he couldn't shake the feeling that Isla was at the center of it all. One evening, driven by an urgent need to confront his fears, Kai ventured into the forest. The air was thick with tension, and shadows danced in the flickering light of the moon. He could feel the whispers around him, the echoes of the Jumbies urging him to turn back. But his heart compelled him forward, fueled by an unwavering belief that Isla was still somewhere in the darkness. "Isla!" he called out, his voice slicing through the silence. "If you can hear me, please answer." The forest responded with a rustling of leaves, but no answer came. As he delved deeper, unease settled in his stomach like a heavy stone. The branches seemed to reach for him, grasping at his clothes as if warning him to leave. But he pressed on, the memories of their friendship guiding him. He had to find her before it was too late. Suddenly, he felt a shift in the atmosphere, the air electrified with a palpable tension. Shadows coalesced around him, taking on forms he couldn't quite discern. It was then that he saw her, a figure cloaked in darkness, standing near a clearing, her silhouette stark against the moonlight. "Isla," he whispered, hope and fear battling within him. She turned slowly, her features illuminated by the pale glow of the moon. Kai's heart raced at the sight of her, but as he gazed into her eyes, he felt a chill run down his spine. They glowed with an otherworldly light, and a profound sense of loss enveloped him. This was not the Isla he once knew. "Why have you come here, Kai?" she asked, her voice a haunting melody that sent shivers through the stillness of the night. "I felt you," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Something's wrong. You've changed. You're different." A flicker of something, regret perhaps, passed over Isla's face. "You shouldn't have come. This place, it's not safe for you anymore." Kai's heart sank at her words. "You're still my friend. We can find a way to break this. I know you're still in there." Her gaze faltered, and for a moment the shadows seemed to waver around her. But the pull of the darkness was strong, and as the Jumbies whispered temptations in her ear, Isla felt the weight of her choices crashing down upon her. "I can't go back, Kai. I'm bound to the forest now, to the pact I made. I have a purpose, but it's one that requires sacrifices." "Sacrifices?" he echoed, horror creeping into his voice. "What have you done?" Isla's silence spoke volumes. The truth hung heavy in the air, and in that moment, Kai understood the depth of her transformation. She was lost to the darkness, yet a flicker of the girl he loved still remained, struggling against the tides of despair. The realization ignited a fire within him, a desperate need to save her before she was consumed entirely. As the Jumbies swirled around them, their ethereal laughter echoing through the trees, Kai knew he had to act fast. He couldn't lose Isla to the forest, to the shadows that beckoned her deeper into darkness. With determination, he stepped closer, ready to confront the emerging threats that lay ahead, not just for Isla, but for the very soul of the forest they once cherished together. The moon hung high in the inky sky, its silvery light casting an ethereal glow over the forest. Shadows danced among the trees, whispering secrets that only Isla could understand. She stood at the edge of the clearing, her heart racing as Kai stepped into view, determination etched across his face. This was the moment they both dreaded, yet knew was inevitable. "Isla," he said softly, his voice trembling with emotion. "We need to talk. Please, let's figure this out." As she looked into his eyes, memories flooded her mind. Laughter shared beneath the banyan tree, secrets exchanged in hushed tones, the warmth of friendship that once defined their connection. But now, those memories felt like a distant echo, fading under the weight of her transformation. She could sense the Jumbies swirling around her, their whispers urging her to embrace the darkness fully. But Kai's presence was a tether, pulling her back to the light, and for a moment she felt the conflict raging within her. "Why did you come here, Kai?" she replied, her voice a haunting blend of sorrow and defiance. "You don't belong in this world anymore. I can't let you get hurt." Kai stepped closer, determination shining in his eyes. "You're still my friend, Isla. I won't abandon you to this darkness. I believe there's a way to bring you back, to restore what you've lost." The tension crackled between them, heavy with unspoken truths. Isla's heart ached as she battled against the pull of her Jumbie nature. The allure of power, of claiming souls, danced tantalizingly in her mind, but each thought was intertwined with the remnants of her past life, her family, her dreams, her laughter. Restoration? Isla scoffed, a hint of bitterness creeping into her tone. "Do you think I want to go back to a life where I felt powerless? Where I was just another girl in the village? This power, it's intoxicating, Kai. It gives me purpose." "But at what cost?" he challenged, stepping closer still, his gaze unwavering. "You're becoming a monster. The girl I knew wouldn't want this. You're losing yourself to the darkness, Isla. You're meant for so much more than this." His words struck her like a physical blow, causing her to recoil slightly. Was it true? Had she traded her humanity for power? As the Jumbies swirled around her, their laughter became a chilling reminder of the choices she had made. They were no longer just playful spirits, they were the embodiment of her darkest desires. "You don't understand," she cried, her voice breaking. "This isn't just about power. It's about freedom, about being something greater than myself. I can finally escape the chains of my past." But deep down, she felt the truth of his words wrapping around her heart like a vice. She was losing herself, drifting further away from the Isla who once dreamed of adventure and love. The pull of her Jumbie identity was strong, but Kai's presence flickered like a candle in the dark, illuminating the path she was struggling to remember. "I do understand," he replied, his voice softening, the intensity of his gaze unwavering. "I've seen the way you've changed. I've felt the darkness creeping in and it terrifies me. But I also know the real you is still here, buried beneath all of this. You don't have to be a Jumbie. You can choose to fight it." Chilla's heart raced as her emotions swirled within her. The forest was alive, thrumming with the energy of lost souls waiting for her to claim them. But here stood Kai, a beacon of hope, a reminder of her past. Could she really walk away from the power that promised to make her something extraordinary? A flicker of vulnerability crossed her face, and for a moment, she hesitated. What if I can't? What if the darkness is already too deep? The Jumbies tightened around her, their whispers growing louder, tempting her with promises of untold power and freedom. But Kai took another step forward, his hand reaching out to her. "I believe in you, Isla. You have the strength to choose your own path. You're not just a Jumbie, you're still my friend, and I won't stop fighting for you." In that moment, a flood of memories surged within her. Laughter, warmth, the feel of sunlight on her face, and the love of those she had left behind. The realization struck her like lightning. She had a choice. She could either succumb to the darkness and embrace the Jumbie she was becoming, or fight to reclaim the essence of who she truly was. With a trembling breath, Isla locked eyes with Kai, her heart aching with conflicting emotions. I don't know if I can do this," she whispered, tears brimming in her eyes. "You can," Kai replied, his voice steady and unwavering. "Together we can find a way. Just take my hand." Isla hesitated, the shadows around her beckoning her to surrender, but the light in Kai's eyes pulled her back. With trembling fingers, she reached out, and as their hands met, a surge of warmth flooded through her. In that moment of connection, the bond they shared ignited like a spark, igniting a flicker of hope in her heart. She could feel the Jumbies retreating slightly, their laughter fading as the warmth of friendship enveloped her. "I won't give up on you," Kai vowed, his grip firm as he pulled her closer. "You're stronger than you realize. Let's face this together." The shadows around them receded, but the path ahead was still uncertain. Together they stood on the brink of transformation, Isla caught between the world of Jumbies and the echoes of her past life. The confrontation had revealed not just the darkness that threatened to consume her, but also the light that still flickered within, igniting a glimmer of hope for her salvation. With renewed determination, Isla prepared to confront the Jumbie within, ready to reclaim her life and the bond that had brought them to this moment. The forest was vast and filled with shadows, but together, they would navigate the darkness and emerge into the light. As dawn approached, the first light of morning began to pierce the canopy of the dense Caribbean forest, scattering the shadows that had long held sway. Isla and Kai stood together at the edge of the clearing, a fragile alliance forged in the crucible of conflict. The air was thick with tension, a poignant reminder of the struggle they had faced and the choices that lay ahead. Yet as the sun began to rise, illuminating the path before them, an unsettling thought gnawed at Isla's mind. Despite the warmth of Kai's hand clasping hers, the darkness that clung to her was an inescapable truth. The very essence of what she had become, an embodiment of the Jumbie, still pulsed beneath her skin, whispering temptations that beckoned her to give in to the shadows. "I can feel them," Isla murmured, her voice trembling as she looked deep into the forest. "The Jumbies, they're still here, waiting for me to embrace my nature fully." Kai's grip tightened, his eyes filled with concern. "You don't have to listen to them, Isla. You've fought too hard to reclaim yourself. We can still break this curse together." But the echoes of the past reverberated in Isla's mind. She thought of the pact she had made, the promises whispered in the dark that had led her down this perilous path. The allure of power had been intoxicating, offering freedom from the limitations she had felt her entire life. But at what cost? The question haunted her, pulling her deeper into the complexities of her existence. A sudden chill swept through the air, and Isla's heart raced as she sensed the presence of the Jumbies gathering once more. They materialized like phantoms around her, their laughter echoing through the trees, a haunting melody that sent shivers down her spine. The forest had eyes, and those eyes were watching her, waiting for her to succumb to the darkness that promised to envelop her. "Isla," Kai said urgently, pulling her back from the edge of despair. "You have to focus. Remember who you are. You are not just a Jumbie, you are Isla, my friend. We can find a way out." She turned to him, desperation rising in her chest. "But what if this is who I'm meant to be? What if I can't escape this existence? What if I'm destined to haunt these woods forever?" The realization crashed over her like a tidal wave, drowning her in fear. In the stories of old, those who became Jumbies were said to be trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, cursed to wander the forest for eternity. Would she become a mere shadow, forever lost in the depths of darkness? The thought was chilling, and as the Jumbies circled around her, she felt the weight of their sadness. their longing for the lives they had lost. They were once like her, people with dreams, hopes, and connections to the world. But now, they were nothing more than spirits, forever searching for what they could never reclaim. Isla's breath caught in her throat as she began to understand the magnitude of her situation. She had sought power, but at the price of her very humanity. The allure of control and escape had blinded her to the truth that the pursuit of such power often led to a fate worse than death. With newfound clarity, she looked at Kai, his face filled with a mix of hope and despair. "I don't want to haunt this place. I don't want to become one of them," she whispered, her voice breaking. "But what if I can't fight it? What if I'm already lost?" A heavy silence settled between them, punctuated only by the distant sound of rustling leaves and the whispers of the forest. Isla could feel the Jumbies closing in, their ethereal forms pressing against her, urging her to join their ranks. It was a siren call, seductive and dangerous, promising a power that could transcend the limitations of her former life. But as she looked deep into Kai's eyes, she saw the reflection of her true self. The Isla who had dreamt of adventure and connection, the girl who had once believed in the power of friendship and love. In that moment, a flicker of defiance ignited within her. "I refuse to be a shadow," she declared, her voice rising above the whispers of the Jumbies. "I will not let this darkness define me." But even as she spoke those words, the chilling reality loomed before her. The Jumbies began to sway, their whispers intensifying as they sought to pull her back into the depths of despair. The forest held its breath, caught in a tense stillness as Isla faced the ultimate choice: to embrace the darkness that beckoned or to forge a path back to the light. With every heartbeat, the struggle waged within her. Would she succumb to the seductive power that promised freedom, but bound her to an existence of eternal wandering? Or could she reclaim her humanity and resist the pull of the Jumbies, even as they haunted her every step? As the first rays of dawn broke through the trees, illuminating the forest in a warm glow, Isla stood on the precipice of her fate, heart racing with uncertainty. She realized that the line between the living and the dead was not just a physical one. It was a battle of the soul, a struggle to define who she was meant to be. In that moment, she understood the cost of seeking power, the risk of losing oneself in the shadows of despair. And as the Jumbies closed in, their laughter echoing around her, she pondered the chilling truth. The choice was hers alone. Would she be forever haunted by the darkness? Or would she fight to reclaim the light? The answer lay just beyond the horizon, waiting for her to take the leap into the unknown. As we wrap up this chilling tale of transformation and the struggle between light and dark, I want to hear from you. Do you have a personal horror story that haunts you? Perhaps there's a spine-tingling tale your grandparents shared about something supernatural. Or maybe you know of a unique, eerie legend from your hometown. Don't hesitate to share your experiences in the comments below. I'm always on the lookout for new stories to narrate, and together, we can explore these haunting tales. Your voice matters. Let's dive into the darkness and uncover the mysteries that lie within.